is formerly dhana was taken away from him. Now he has given up the wealth and he has voluntarily or willingly become a poor person. This is a poverty. In Christianity, they take the vow of poverty. Sannyasa also is a vow of poverty, really speaking. That one willingly renounces. Willingly one has accepted poverty. That's the whole idea. And so, then, dhanabhimana rahitasya, the person now who is devoid of abhimanam or identification with dhanam, pravrajitasya in a real sense, that is become a sannyasi in a real sense, and therefore has no more identification with dhana naturally, because he is not seeking security from the wealth or possession anymore. That's the whole thing. Tadeva dhanapaharamittam dukkham bhavati iti shakyam kalpayitum. You cannot say that. Suppose now dhan goes away. Where is the question of dhan going away? Since he is not identified with money, there cannot be any pain or suffering that is caused as a result of loss of money. So only when abhimanam is there, then the loss of it can create in me a loss. When abhimanam is not there, the loss does not create a loss. The point here is that dukkha was what? Because of dhana abhimanam. Even when the money goes away, what creates dukkha in me? Because of identification with that. Suppose today Ambani loses some money or whatever it is, what does it mean to nothing to me? If suppose somebody else, we read every day in the newspaper, there's a raid here and this fellow lost $1 million, this fellow lost this, and just as people earn money, equally there is news of people losing money. Nothing, what happens to you and I? Nothing. At the moment you might just chuckle, or you might perhaps even have some kind of a sadistic pleasure also. Good, this fellow deserved it, or whatever it is. And so, but when somebody else loses money, nothing happens to us. Somebody may lose anything and nothing happens to us. He may lose his life and nothing happens to us. As it is said, when one person dies, it is a tragedy. And when 1,000 people die, it is statistics, and therefore. So in Punjab, it's a statistics now for us. How Indians and all these people who are living in this poverty and living in misery have become so used to misery that nothing touches our heart. That 25 people were shot dead, doesn't do anything to us because it's a daily affair. That 7 people have been stabbed, nothing happens to us. It's a statistics, more or less, because it's an everyday affair. Poverty and disease and suffering doesn't do anything to us, prarabdha hai. Because people they have become so insensitive to things. Whatever you live in, you become insensitive. That's all it means. And when this is not there, people become very sensitive. And we become very sensitive about people's character, people's behavior and things like that, because we have a great value for that. In the West, nobody bothers about it, What is this big deal about the character and stuff like that? And, no problem at all. Then nothing touches them. And that thing will touch here like anything, you see. And what touches him, some person is saying, he's in the hospital. So what is the big deal about it? Our hospitals are full, here. And there was somebody going to hospital, somebody having an AIDS disease, etc. Somebody, So people 3,000 miles away are concerned about what's happening so far away. And some dhartikam happens there or something happens there. Immediately people rush with all kinds of help. Uska prarabdha hai, we say that usko apna kya hai, kuch nahi hai. And that, so how people's attitudes are different. Anyway, what creates dukkha is different with different people. That's the whole idea. If abhimanam is there or not. The point of the whole thing is, do I have abhimanam? Do I have any identification with that? Then there will be pain or suffering in me. So if I am identified with a particular pain, and then if that is loss, I'll feel the loss of it. Otherwise not. And so, if I identify, where is my pen? Where is my pencil? I just cannot I cannot have the mood to write if my pencil is not there. My eraser must be there. If somebody brings a new eraser, that also is not acceptable. My eraser must be there. When that goes away, where is it? I will not have a mood to write anything. I may lose half a day. This is all dukkha happens because of abhimanam, identification. So all the dukkha, all the fear arises from identification. Not merely gain or loss. It is not that a loss necessarily creates dukkha in me, or gain necessarily creates sukha in me. What is there in the bank? A cashier keeps on gaining thousands of rupees, nothing happens to him. He knows that it is not my money anyway. and thousands of rupees go away from you also, that doesn't create anything in him because there is no sense of loss or gain. If it doesn't create in me a sense of loss, then there is no dukkha. And the sense of loss happens because of identification and not because of an actual phenomenon. So, prabrajitasya dhanabhimana-rahitasya tadeva dhanapahara-nimittam dukkham bhavati nahi bhavati. No more. Bhartruhari gave up everything. And then nothing happens to him. Whether the kingdom is there or not is of no consequence to him. And therefore, that dukkha was dhanapahara-nimittam. Even the dukkha of dhanapahara, of loss of dhanam, was because of dhanadi abhimanam. The dukkha formerly was dhanabhimanina dukkham. And when abhimana is not there, dukkham is not there. That's the idea. Similarly also. And nacha kundalinaha, whatever. One having a kundala, earring, maybe golden, and having gems in there, what is it? Diamond earrings are there, very precious. Ordinary earrings everybody wears, it doesn't matter. But diamond earrings, kundalinaha, kundalitva abhimana nimittam sukham drustam. It must give them some sukha to wear this thing, So it is the earring that shines, I feel happy. Why is it so? Because of identification. And therefore, you can see that diamond particularly shines as a person moves, If you are observing that diamond, then the rays of light. And that's how people do that. When they are wearing ornaments and things like that, then it's not the ornament is worn, but there is a need to show it also. And that is how, that is a particular movement of the body, limbs and whatever it is, which is conducive to showing off the ornament, the beauty of the ornament, the shine and whatever it is, and that gives me a certain joy, that I am shining. The earring or the diamond that is shining, the person feels that I am shining. Anyway, so kundalitva abhimana nimittam sukham drustam, that I am a possessor of kundala. Kundalitva means the bhava, the state of being the possessor of kundala. So kundalitva abhimana nimittam, it's a rare piece. It's something, 10,000 rupees, these diamonds were purchased. Now this perhaps it doesn't mean anything today, but there was a time when these diamonds were bought in 10,000 rupees. Now it may be 50,000 rupees or 100,000 rupees. Then I am a possessor of kundala. That kind of abhiman, that gives me happiness. When I go to party, I feel something special. So distinguish yourself, feel special. These are all the advertisements are there. So people wear certain kind of suits, wear certain kind of clothes, wear certain kind of hats to distinguish themselves. I feel special, shoes, etc. And therefore, abhimana nimittam sukham. So how that thing, that I possess something, gives me a sukham. That abhimanam is. I remember when a new suit comes, you wear that and you walk in the apartment. Look at yourself several times in the mirror and feel happy that you are something. What the suit does something to you because abhimanam, So kundalitva abhimana nimittam sukham drashtam iti tasyeva kundala viyuktasya. Suppose now he gives up this kundala for whatever reason. Or kundala viyuktasya, he loses that. He no more has kundala. Now he has no more any identification with that kundala. Kundalitva abhimana rahitasya, and therefore now he doesn't have any more any abhimanam or the sense of possession or pride that comes on account of possession of a kundala. Tadeva kundalitva abhimana nimittam sukham bhavati iti na drishtam. No more he has any sukha generated from the abhimanam or the sense of possession of that kundala. This illustration show here that both sukha and dukkha. Kundalitva, so gives me sukha, and dhanapahara gives me dukkha. Both sukha and dukkha are products of mithya jnanam. This is the idea here. When mithya jnanam goes away, neither sukha is there, dukkha is there, generated from mithya jnanam. That's the idea here. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। तो समन्वयात् 187 ननु श्रुतब्रह्मणोऽपि यथा पूर्वं संसारित्वदर्शनात् न रज्जुस्वरूपकथनवत् अर्थवत्वमित्युक्तम् अत्रोच्यते न अवगतब्रह्मात्मभावस्य यथा पूर्वं संसारित्वं शक्यं दर्शयितुम् वेदप्रमाणजनितब्रह्मात्मभावविरोधात् न हि शरीराद्यात्माभिमानिनः दुःखभयादिमत्वं दृष्टम् इति तस्यैव वेदप्रमाणजनितब्रह्मात्मावगमे तदभिमाननिवृत्तौ तदेव मिथ्याज्ञाननिमित्तम् दुःखभयादिमत्वं भवति इति शक्यं कल्पयितुम् न हि धनिनः गृहस्थस्य धनाभिमानिनः धनापहारनिमित्तं दुःखं दृष्टम् इति तस्यैव प्रव्रजितस्य धनाभिमानरहितस्य तदेव धनापहारनिमित्तं दुःखं भवति न च कुण्डलिनः कुण्डलित्वाभिमाननिमित्तं सुखं दृष्टम् इति तस्यैव कुण्डलवियुक्तस्य कुण्डलित्वाभिमानरहितस्य तदेव कुण्डलित्वाभिमाननिमित्तं सुखं भवति. So the question is, Shruta Brahmanopi yatha purvam samsaritva darshanat. Says those who have listened to Brahma, meaning listen to the scriptures, meaning in the wise people here, not merely in the people who have some kind of a knowledge, but what is meant is even people who are learned in the scriptures, meaning those who have knowledge of the scriptures also, yatha purvam samsaritva darshana. We find the same in there also, yatha purvam as before, samsaritvam. Whatever their definition of samsaritvam is, their definition of samsaritvam is being embodied. So we find that they also remain embodied beings and doing essentially the same kind of thing that they were doing before, conducting themselves in the same manner, and so we find them also to be samsaris, limited. They are limited in knowledge, they are limited in every way. So we find the same samsaritvam is there. How do we say that knowledge of Brahman removes samsaritvam? So Shruti, Yukti are all right, but Anubhava is contradictory. Then it is said here. So it's very difficult again to say that they are samsaris or they are not samsaris. The whole point that is made here is that from the outer behavior you cannot say that a person is not a samsari or a samsari. That samsara is not a behavior, the body is not samsara, the mind is not a samsara, or Atma also is not samsara, but the dehabhimanam is samsara. And so all the sukha dukkha that is generated is on account of abhimanam, identification. And for that the illustrations are given. If you say avagata brahmatma bhavasya, if you say that even the person who has studied, who knows Brahman, yatha purvam samsaritvam bhavati, suppose that is so, then Veda pramanajana brahmatma bhava virodhat, Veda say that Atma is Brahma. And you'll be contradicting that if you insist that Atma is not Brahman in spite of knowing Brahma. Meaning, in spite of knowing Brahma, still Brahman is not known as Atma because Brahman is not Atma. In that case, you will be contradicting. This stand of yours will contradict these statements of Vedanta. And so, it is Abhimanam that is important. So, Bhashyakara says, Nahi sharirad abhimanina dukkha bhayadimatvam drishtam. We find dukkha, bhaya, etc. in the one who is identified with the body. Tasyeva Veda Pramana Brahmatmagame Tad Abhimana Nivruttau. When that Abhimanam, Shariradi Abhimanam is Nivrittam on account of knowledge of Veda Pramana. Tadeva Mithya Jnana Nimittam Dukkha Bhayadikam Bhavati iti Shakyam Kalpaitum. You cannot say that same Dukkha and Bhaya which was there before on account of identification of the body continues to remain in spite of the now freedom from the identification. You cannot say that. Nahi dhaninaha grihastasya dhanabhimaninaha. So also, when one considers oneself as a dhani on account of a sense of possessiveness with a certain dhanam or certain property, whatever, so dhanabhar nimittam dukkham drishtam, you find that person necessarily experiences a sorrow when there is a loss of what he considered as his. He considered himself dhani on account of dhanam. When dhanam goes away, dhani also goes away. So there is necessarily a sadness arising from a sense of loss. Same person, when he gives up the dhanitva abhimanam, he no more considers himself as dhani, whether he has dhana or not. So he is a pravrajitasya. He himself has renounced everything. He has become a pravrajaka, let us say, become a monk or become a renunciate. No more has any identification with dhana or doesn't consider himself as dhani. Then now there is no possibility that dukkha can arise in him because there cannot be dhana apahara. There cannot be loss of dhanam anyway. And therefore dukkham that was created in him on account of loss of money cannot anymore be there when he doesn't identify with money. Or, so that's the dukkha for loss. And so also one who considers himself sukhi on account of possessing a kundala or some precious thing, and that sukha is there because he considers himself the possessor of a precious thing. Once he gives up that, or is without that for whatever reason, then no more he considers himself the possessor of a precious thing. Then the sukha also that arose on account of that ahankara or abhimanam will no more be there. Meaning that sukham and dukkham, both of them are products of what we call abhimanam. That is called samsara. So dukkha bhayadikam is called samsara. And it is said here how dukkha etc. is generated only or created on account of identification. There is a sense of loss because of identification. There is a sense of gain also because of identification. The sense of gain and loss. Sense of gain creates sukham, sense of loss creates dukkham. When there can be loss and gain, there cannot be gain of Atma, nor can there be loss of Atma. Gain and loss can only be of that which is other than Atma. Because anything other than Atma can be gained and something other than Atma can be lost. So only when there is Atma Buddhi in something other than Atma, then alone, or Atmiya Buddhi is there in something other than Atma, then alone there can be a question of gain and loss. So very gain and loss, this idea itself shows ignorance. That I stand to gain something when I get money, or I stand to lose something when I lose something precious. That shows that there is Atma is considered to be something where gain and loss are possible, which means that Atma is not known as it is. Atma is not known as Brahman, not known as limitless, which is devoid of any sense of heyatvam and upadayatvam. And therefore, it is ignorance which creates abhimanam, and that alone causes this sukha dukkha. This is the idea. Now, page 188 says, Ratnaprabha, Tattvavido Jivan Mukta Manamaha. How do you say that the knower of tattva, knower of truth is Jivan Mukta? Manamaha. Here, Acharya quotes a pramanam, statement of the Shruti to show how the knower of Brahman is Mukta, Jivan Mukta. He is free even while alive. That's important here. Taduktam Shrutyayati. Well, Purnananda said the last sentence here on page 187, Vyakhyana Sakshatkaradadi देहे विद्यमानवि साक्षात्कारेण देहाभिमान भावात् जीवतोपि मुक्तिः दुरपह्नवा इति सदृष्टान्तमः इत्यर्थः. So even jivatah, even for the one who is alive, mukti cannot be denied when there is a true knowledge of the true nature of the self. So dushtantamaha, all the dushtanta, where dhani and kundali were given to show this. Jivan mukto manamaha, dehabhimana rahityam abhivyakta asangatma swarupam jivan mukti tasyam. What is jivan mukti? Dehabhimana rahityam. This is it. Dehabhimana rahityam, freedom from identification with deha. Deha stands for upadhi, sthula sukshma deha. Abhivyakta asangatma swarupam. And therefore abhivyakta asangatma swarupam. Atma, which is who is asanga. So abhivyakta, that swarupa becomes manifest. So one, the swarupa, the true nature of the self becomes manifest when there is a freedom from identification with the body. This is the idea. When there is an identification with the body, even that Atma Swarupam is not evident. It is there, no doubt, but still not evident. And the true nature of the self becomes evident when there is a freedom from the identification with the Upadhi. So that is Jivan Mukti. Simultaneously, a freedom from the identification with the Upadhi, at the same time accompanied by a manifestation of the true nature of the self. This is called Jivan Mukti. So says Bhashyakara here, Taduktam Shrutya Ashariram Vavasantam Na Priya Priye Sprashatah Iti. This has been quoted earlier. Taduktam Shrutya Ashariram Vavasantam. The one who is Asharira, Priya Priye Na Sprashatah. To a person or to the wise person who is Asharira, Priya and Apriya, Raga Dvesha, all these pairs of opposites, nasprushataha, they do not touch him, meaning they have no influence on him. The Raga Dvesha, all these pairs of opposites have influence, or they can only have contact with Upadhi, with Sthula and Sukshma Sharira. So one who is devoid of Sthula and Sukshma Sharira cannot have any connection or effect of the Priya and the Apriya, the pairs of opposites. That means Asharira is the one who is Jivan Mukta, the one who is devoid of identification with the body. Then the question will arise, how do you understand the meaning of the word Asharira? Asharira means what? Does it mean the one who is devoid of body? Or the one devoid of identification with the body? The Vedantin will say that Asharira means the one who is devoid of, free from identification with the body. Then the Purva Paksha is raised here. Say Ratna Brahma, Jivataha Ashariratvam Viruddhamiti Shankate. Jivataha, for the one who is alive, Ashariratvam Viruddham, being alive, being functioning in the body, and still saying that he is devoid of the body, this is contradictory. Says Purnandiya, Ashariratvam Shrutya Pratipadyate Tadeva Jivan Muktischet. If you say that the kind of Ashariratvam, the unembodiedness, Ashariratvam means the unembodiedness. So the unembodiedness that is revealed or taught by the Shruti, if that according to you is Jivan Mukti, Jivataha Purushasya Sharira Sambandharahitya Rupa Asharirattvasya Viruddhatvat. So what is Ashariratvam? Sharira Sambandharahitya Rupa Ashariratvam. So he says that Ashariratvam means the freedom from the association with the body. Asharira means freedom from association with the body. That kind of Ashariratvam cannot be for the one who is alive because he is very much associated with the body. Na Jivan Mukti. Either Ashariratvam is not Jivan Mukti, or the kind of Ashariratvam that you interpret is not Jivan Mukti. So we cannot say Shruti is not Jivan Mukti. But the interpretation that you give of Ashariratvam is not Mukti. I mean, Ashariram cannot be Mukti, I should say, because Ashariratvam and Jivan Mukti are opposed. Jivan Mukti is the freedom from the body. And here we find the wise man still associated with the body, and therefore to say that Ashariratvam is Jivan Mukti is not right. then Ratnaprabha says, Atmanah Deha Sambandasya Bhranti Prayuktatvat Tatvadhya Tannasharupam Ashariratvam Jivato Yuktam Ityaha. Says here, Atmanah Deha Sambandasya Bhranti Prayuktatvat. We say that Atma is never connected to the body to begin with. You say that Atma is connected to the body when one is alive. That means that the person who is bound, the Atma of that person is connected to the body. The person who is free, the Atma of that person is not connected to the body. This is not what we say. Then there would have been a question that now that the person is wise, that is no more connected to the body, and when he was otherwise, that he was connected to the body. That's not the case. Even when a person feels oneself to be a samsari, meaning an embodied soul, even then also the possessiveness or the identification, the association of the body is only one of Bhranti, is only born of Bhranti. Atmanah Deha Sambandasya Bhranti Prayuktatvat. The Sambandha or the association that Atma, the relation or connection the Atma has with the body, Bhranti Prayuktatvat, is only brought about by Bhranti. Tatvadhya Tannasharupam Ashariratvam. Therefore, Tatvadhya, by the true nature of the Atma, Tannasharupatvam Ashariratvam. Tannasharupam Ashariratvam. What is Tannasha? Bhranti Nasha. So, is Bhranti Nasha alone is called Ashariratvam. So, Nasha or the destruction of Bhranti, Dehoham, that alone is the state of unembodiedness, because Atma is always unembodied. Even when a person claims to be embodied, even then also Atma is never embodied. And so, Ashariratvam Jivatah Yuktam, we would say that Ashariratvam, the unembodiedness for the person who is alive, is proper because the Sashariratvam is only Bhranti Prayuktam. This is the answer given by Bhashyakara, says Naiti. Na Sasharirattvasya Mithya Jnana Nimittatvad Nahi Atmanah Shariratma Abhimana Lakshanam Mithya Jnanam Muktva Anyatah Sashariratvam Shakyam Kalpayitum. Says na. Oh. So you not read the Purva Paksha apparently. Okay. Sharire patide ashariratvam syat na jivatah iti. Okay, this was the question there. Sharire patide ashariratvam syat. Ashariratvam is the unembodiedness. When does it happen? Sharire patite syat. Only when the body falls off, then alone one can be unembodied. Na jivatah. How can it be that one can become unembodied even while being alive? Unembodiedness can only be when the body drops off. This is Purva Paksha. Then answer is given, na sasharirattvasya mithya jnana nimittatvat. That even when one is alive, that there is this notion that I am a shariri, I am a dehi, I am an embodied one, that this is my body, or I am the body, mithya jnana nimittatvat. This is nothing but mithya jnanam. This is merely a notion. It's amazing. That I am a samsari is a notion. Mithya jnanam. Had the samsara been real, then it would have been a different matter. But what is samsara is nothing but a notion arising from ignorance. It's the sense. I have a sense that I am a samsari, that I am a shariri, that I am a jiva, that I am alpaha, I am a limited being. This is merely a sense. It's nothing more than this mithya jnanam. And that is why this association with a given body comes only on account of mithya jnanam, on account of nothing else. Not that the Atma is really connected to the body, that there is sashariratvam, it's only because of mithya jnanam. Says, nahi atmanah shariratma abhimana lakshanam mithya jnanam muktva, giving other than this shariratma abhimana lakshanam, calling the sharira as Atma. What is abhimanam? That having the Atma buddhi in the sharira, in the body itself, is called abhimanam. So other than this abhimanam, atmanah sashariratvam shakyam na kalpayitum. How it's not possible to imagine how Atma can be embodied. Atma, that is Ajachapnodi Yadadatte, the one who is all pervasive, that is called Atma. How can Atma who is all pervasive, or Atma who is subtler than the subtlest, how can he ever be connected to the body? Can you imagine the space being connected with the part? Is it possible that a part can enclose a space? Is it possible to tie the space or bind the space with a rope or something? It's not possible. And still if someone feels that the space is bound in a part, what is that? That binding or the limitation of space is only notional and not real. Space being what it is, cannot be bound or cannot be confined to any cavity. Similarly, Atma, that is why Purusha Prakristho hi bhungte Prakridijan gunan. This Purusha who abides in Prakriti, meaning one who is Atma Bhava in Prakriti, connected with Prakriti, how can he be? Purusha cannot be connected with Prakriti because there is nothing that can connect them. There is totally, altogether a Vishama Satta here. Prakriti enjoys one Satta and Purusha enjoys another Satta. It is like saying that the sun has entered the water and therefore sun is now drowned in water, something like that. It cannot be. It is merely a notion to think that the sun has entered the water, whatever. And therefore, if you really think of the nature of Atma, then you will see. If you imagine that just because you find a person behaving as a body, or always claiming his association with the body, therefore you imagine that the association of Atma with the body is real, that's a different matter. But you cannot judge. How do you infer? It is from the behavior of the person that we infer that he is embodied. You cannot infer. Because if you look at the nature of Atma, then you find Atma is what? Subtler than the subtlest, all pervasive, asangaha, unconnected. So how can you imagine a connection of the Atma with the body? You cannot imagine. And therefore we say that the connection that appears to be there is merely Brahma and not a reality. Nahi Atmanah Shariratma Lakshanam Mithya Jnanam Muktva Anyatah Shariratvam Shakyam Kalpahitum. Says Purnanandiya, Nacha Sharira Sambandarahityam Ashariratvam. We do not say that Sharira Sambandarahityam Ashariratvam, that the absence of an association with the body is not how we define unembodiedness. Ashariratvam, according to us, is not defined as absence of association with the body. Kintu tattva jnanena atmanah deha sambandha bhrantinashat shariradi abhimanarahityam bhavati tadeva ashariratvam. Kintu, however, tattva jnanena atmanah deha sambandha bhrantinashat. Tattva jnanena means by the knowledge of tattva, the truth. Atmanah deha sambandha bhrantinashat. Tattva jnanam is that which removes bhranti. And therefore, there was a bhranti that Atma is connected to the body or associated with the body. Bhranti nashad by elimination or destruction of that bhranti. Sharirad abhimana rahityam bhavati. That's all. That happens, the abhimana rahityam, of freedom from abhimana or identification of the body, etc. Tadeva ashariratvam. That alone is what we call ashariratvam. Tadeva cha jivan muktihi. And that alone is what we call jivan muktihi. So, Brahmarahityam as a result of the Tattva Jnanam. Tathacha na jivatah jivan mukti virodha. And therefore, we say that jivatah for the one who is alive, so ashariratvam and this jivanam. So, being unembodied as well as being alive, according to us, are not contradictory. Therefore, we call him Videha Janaka. So, Janaka, in spite of being so active and whatever, is still called Videha. That shows that Videhatvam is possible even without in spite of the body. Iti Pratipadakam Bhashyam Avatarayati. This is what the Bhashya is actually going to expound, and that is what Ratnabhavakara Avatarayati introduces. Says Ratnabhava, Asangatma Swarupam tu Ashariratvam Bhrantya Avratam Tattvadhya Jivatah Vyajyate iti. Asangatma Swarupam Asharitu Ashariratvam. The Ashariratvam is not the Atma has to become a Shariri. Atma is already a Shariri. Asangatma Swarupam, because Atma is Asangaha, is unconnected. So asangatma rupa swarupam tu ashariratvam bhrantya avrutam. That ashariratvam, or being disembodied, which is the nature of Atma, bhrantya avrutam, that nature is somehow veiled on account of bhranti. Tattvadhiya jivataha vyajyate. Tattvadhiya, by the knowledge of the truth, vyajyate, becomes manifest. That avaranam, when it goes away, then the true nature becomes manifest. Asangatma swarupam vyajyate. That Atma, asanga, that true nature of the Atma becomes manifest when the veil of ignorance is removed. Ityaha nityamiti. And so, keeping this in mind, Bhashyakara says nityam. Says Bhashya here. Nityam ashariratvam akarma nimittatva ityavochama. Nityam ashariratvam iti avocham. We already said earlier. Apparently in page 150, in the earlier discussion, it was already said. Says Purnananda here. So tu shabdah pakshantara dyotakah asangatma swarupam tu ashariratvam pakshantara shodhanada paksha nityasya asangatma swarupasya tattvajnanena abhivyaktihi. Said there ashariratvam vyajyate. Asangatma swarupam ashariratvam vyajyate. That's explained by Purnananda as nityasya asangatma swarupasya. Atma is asanga and therefore nitya. Tattvajnanena abhivyaktihi. They see Atma Swarupasya abhivyaktihi. The Swarupa, the true nature of the Atma, becomes manifest by Tattvajnana. Abhivyangya asangatma swarupam va jivan muktihi. Either way. Either this abhivyakti is called jivan muktihi, or abhivyangya atma swarupam va jivan muktihi. What is called jivan mukti? The knowledge can be called jivan muktihi, or that the true nature of the Atma manifests itself is called Jivan Mukti. It is the same thing. But Jivan Mukti is explained two ways. Asang nityasya asangatma swarupasya tattvajnanena abhivyaktihi Jivan Muktihi. That is manifestation of the true nature of the Atma who is asanga by tattvajnanam. That is Jivan Mukti. Or asangatma swarupam va Jivan Muktihi. Or that asangatma swarupam, one abides in the Atma who is asanga, that is Jivan Muktihi. Ityartha. Avochama iti. Bhashyakara said, we already said this. Akarma nimittatvat. So, Atmanah nityatvam, ashariratvam is akarma nimittatvat. Says here, Anushtaya karma phala vilakshanam mokshakyam ashariratvam nityam iti siddham. Ashariratvam, it should be. Iti atra avochama iti bhashyartha. Anushtaya karma phala vilakshanam. This mokshakyam, ashariratvam, which is moksha, is something quite different from anushtaya karma phala. Karma phala is utpadyam, apyam, samskaryam, vikaryam. This is the karma phala. Moksha does not falls in none of these categories. And therefore, anushtaya karma phala vilakshanam. Mokshakyam ashariratvam. Ashariratvam, or the being disembodied, which is called moksha, is quite different from the karma phala that comes as a result of performance of karma. And therefore, nityam. If it is produced, then it is anityam. Moksha is not produced, ashariratvam also is not produced. Vyajyate, it is said that. It just becomes manifest. So nothing is produced. Yesterday I was reading a story which is about Michelangelo. He was the disciple of this Leonardo da Vinci. So Michelangelo is a very great sculptor. And someone asked him, what's the secret of your sculpture? How are you able to make such wonderful idols, whatever, you know? Then he says, well, I don't make it, I don't make them. Then the person thought that, well, he's trying to avoid the answer. He says, well, I'm not joking, I'm serious when I'm asking you, what is it that enables you to do this? So I told you that I'm not doing it. What do you mean you're not doing it? He says that beautiful idol or a beautiful form, it's not that he only created idol, a beautiful form which is there in the stone or a rock is already placed there by God, he says. So it is already placed there by God. All I am doing is removing the chips, the unnecessary portions. So we thought, so this is what Michelangelo said, that all I am doing is removing the unnecessary portion, the chips, which just can cover that beautiful form which is already placed there in the rock by God, by the Lord. And here also, all along, it's a question of removing unnecessary chips, that's all. In terms of this Bhranti, Bhranti is this notion, and there is a whole series of notions. One Ahankara is a million notions. Kartaham, Bhoktaham, Sukhiham, Dukhyam. All these are nothing but expression of Ahankara, which is nothing but a product of Bhranti. And that veils the true nature of the Atma. And that true nature of the self becomes just manifest, not created. It just becomes manifest by removal of the avaranam. And therefore, we say that even that murti, even that form that is brought out by a sculptor is already there, not that it brings out something which is not there. So, it is already there, it is just made manifest by the sculptor. And so also, what is already there, the true nature of asangatvam, ashariratvam, mukti, or mokshakyam, ashariratvam, which is already there, is just made manifest by the removal of Bhranti, the Bhranti that was veiling that. So Bhashyakara said, in discussion with the nature of karmaphala, whether moksha is karmaphala or not, anushcheya karmaphala vilakshanam mokshakyam ashariratvam nityam. If it is karmaphala, it is anitya. Mokshakyam is karmaphala vilakshanam, therefore nityam iti avochama. Iti atra avochama iti bhashyartha. This is what Bhashyakara had said earlier. Then Ratnavara says, Dehatmanoho sambandha satyahiti shankate. Still the Purvapakshi continues. He says, no. We say that Dehatmanoho sambandha. We say that the relation that the Deha and the Atma have with each other, that the Atma has a real relation or connection to the body. That's what he says. Shankate. This is the Shanka of the Purvapakshi, which is expressed in Bhashya Tatkruta iti. Tatkruta dharma nimittam sashariratvam iti chet. Tatkruta dharma nimittam sashariratvam. Tatkruta. We have to say Atmakruta. Dharma, we say that. So here again the Mimamsaka would say. So Mimamsakas accept the Atma as different from the body, but still they accept Atma as what? Karta, Bhokta. So Tatkruta means Atmakrita, Dharma nimittam sashariratvam. We say that Atma himself performs karma of the nature of dharma and adharma, as a result of which this body comes. So the embodiment of the Atma, that's what the Mimamsaka position is. That's why in the Nishkarma Siddhi in the beginning there was a long discussion there. The Mimamsakas presented that position, Ek Bhavika Vadaha, that we will give you a plan by which one will become free, where moksha was interpreted as asharirat, being disembodied. And Atma will become disembodied when the body is not there. And when will the body not be there? When the karmaphala, body being karmaphala, if there is no karma, then the body also will not be there. So they told us a whole scheme. Avoid kamya karma, avoid pratishiddha karma, and faithfully do nitya naimitika karma. In that case, there is no scope for another body to be born, and that is how they look upon moksha as... They also say that moksha is not created. But still, this body, as long as it is there, Atma cannot be free. This is the idea. So he says, Tatkruta dharma nimittam sashariratvam. We say that this being embodied is a product of the dharma and adharma that are done by Atma. If this is the question, then the answer is given. So tannashartham karyapeksha iti bhavaha. Therefore, sashariratva nashartham. Therefore, if you want to eliminate now or destroy this sashariratvam, then karyapeksha. You must do something by which now the body is not there. All the effect of dharma, adharma, all of them are neutralized. You should do something, and then alone you can be a shariri. Says Bhashyakara, na sharira sambandhasya asiddhatvat dharma dharmayoho atmakritatva asiddhehe sharira sambandhasya asiddhatvat. He says, well, you cannot prove that Atma is connected to the body. Because nobody has seen Atma and body together. For you to say this, for you to say that the two things are connected with each other, it is necessary that you must see them together. Here also you are inferring the connection of the Atma with the body. Even they also cannot give you pratyaksha pramana. Because Atma cannot be perceived. And therefore, Atma, you have not seen Atma and the body together for you to say that I have seen how is Atma connected to the body. This kind of a thing is a matter of inference. But then, how do you infer? So, sharira sambandhasya asiddhatvat, that sharira is connected to the Atma itself is not proven. Dharma dharmayoho atma krutatva asiddhehe. Only when Atma is connected to the body. And how do you say Atma is connected to the body? Only when Atma performs dharma. You see, this is a problem. This is what has been brought out here. It says Purana Ratna Prabha. Or before that, Tannashartham, Purnanga explains here, Anadi Siddhatvena Satyaha Yaha Sambandha Tannashartham Upasana Rupa Karya Pekshayati Vedantanam Karyaparatvam iti bhava. This is a Purva Paksha. So Tannashartham, our Ratna Prabha explained, Anadi Siddhatvena Satyoya Sambandha. We say that the Atma and Deha Sambandha is Anadi Siddha, is a real one and going on from the time beginningless. Tannashartham, to destroy that Sambandha of Atma and the body, Upasana Rupa Karya Peksha. And therefore, so this is the Vedanta in saying that, therefore Upasana Rupa Karya Peksha. That Upasana is required to actually destroy this real Sambandha that Atma has with the body. And therefore, Vedantanam Karyaparatvam iti bhava. Therefore, he says that Vedanta have Karyaparatvam. Vedanta, purport of the Vedanta is in Kriya, because the real Sambandha of the Atma and the Sharira cannot be destroyed unless you do something about it. Now, then, answer is given here. Ratna Prabha says, Atmana Sharira Sambandhe Jate Dharma Dharmotpattihi. Number one, only when Atma cannot perform any action by itself. Only when Atma is connected to the body, then alone Atma can perform action. That they accept. So, Atmana Sharira Sambandhe Jate Dharma Dharmotpattihi. The dharma and the dharma utpatti is possible only when Atma is connected to the body. Tasyam Satyam Dharma Dharmotpatti Satyam. Only when the dharma adharma utpatti is there, Sharira Sambandha Janma. When can Atma, number one, how can Atma be connected to the body? Only when there is a birth of the body. When the body is born, then the Atma is connected to the body. If the body is not born, then the Atma is not connected to the body. When is the body born? Only when dharma adharma is there. This body is the product of the dharma and adharma. So as a result of dharma and adharma, when the body is born, then alone the Atma can be connected with that. But how can dharma adharma, how are they possible? Only when the connection of the body is. So body is the product of dharma and adharma, and that dharma adharma by the Atma are possible only when it is already connected to the body. And therefore, this is called Anyonya Shrayat. You require one to get to the other. This is called circular argument. This is called circular argument. That you come back again there and then, Anyonya Shrayat, back and forth. The way you cannot arrive at any conclusion because you must have, that's why Swami is very fond of saying, who is God? God is truth. What is truth? Truth is God. That is how the answer is given. Or, where is this house? In front of the pawn shop. Where is pawn shop? In front of the house. How will you find that place? So therefore, Anyonyasha. To find the house, you must know where the pawnwala is. To find the pawnwala, you must know where the house is. And therefore, this is not an answer at all. Similarly also, to establish the connection of the Atma with the body, it is necessary that dharma must be there. And whose dharma must be there? Atma's. Atma, if he is a karta, then all Atma can be bhokta. So only if you accept first that Atma has done punya papa, then alone as a result of that karma, the body is generated. And therefore that Atma is connected with that body which is created as a result of punya papa performed by him. But how can Atma perform punya papa to begin with? Because he already has a body. So unless he has body, punya papa cannot be. Unless punya papa is, body cannot be. This is called anyonya ashraya. Anyonya ashrayat ekasya asiddhya dvitiyasya asiddhi. When one is not established, the other cannot be established. Unless you know the house, you do not know where the petrol pump is. Unless you know the petrol pump, you do not know where the house is, and that's how. Iti pariharti naityadina. That's why Bhashyakara said, Sharira sambandhasya asiddhatvat dharma dharmayoho atma krutatva asiddhehe. First of all, it is not proven that dharma and adharma, these karmas are performed by Atma. Because you have not yet established the Sharira Sambandha. If you have not established Sharira Sambandha, you cannot establish Dharma Dharma. If you cannot establish Atmana Dharma Dharma, you cannot establish Sharira Sambandha, and therefore Asiddhehe. Continuing. Sharira Sambandhasya Dharma Dharmayoho Tatkritattvasya cha Itaretarashrayatva prasangat. That's already Bhashyakara himself says, Sharira sambandhasya dharma dharmayoho tatkritattvasya cha itaretarashrayatva prasangat. So Sharira sambandhasya dharma dharma ashraya and dharma dharmayoho Sharira sambandha ashraya hai. So itaretara ashraya prasangat, there will be thus itaretara ashraya, mutual dependence, in which case each one is dependent. And so who will support whom? And therefore, then Ratnavara says on the page 189, Nanu, says, well, says, no, you didn't grasp our point. What we are trying to say is something different. Says, Nanu, etad dehajanya dharma dharma karmanah etad deha sambandha hetutve syat anyonya ashraya. It's all right. If you say that the connection that the Atma has with this body, if that connection or the association is dependent upon the karma performed by Atma through this body, then there is anyonya ashraya. If you say that the dharma of the Atma, on account of the connection with this body, gives rise to this body, then of course there is anyonya ashraya. But we say, purva deha karmanah etad deha sambandhotpatti. We don't say that the association with this body is required for creation of this body. Purva deha karmanah. Atma performed the karma in the past birth, and that has given rise to this body. Therefore Atma is now connected with this body, with which he performs other karma, which will give rise to another body. Therefore Atma will be connected with that body, with which he will perform yet other karma, and therefore it will give rise to yet other body. This is what we say. It's not anyonya ashraya. Anyonya ashraya is when Atma has to be connected with this body to perform dharma, which should give rise to this body. We don't say that. It is a series of bodies with which Atma is connected in sequence. Purva deha karmanah etad deha sambandhotpatti purva dehascha tat purva deha krita karmanah iti. And then that purva deha was obtained as a result of the karma performed in yet an earlier birth. Iti bijankurvat anaditva. We say that this is anadi. Bijankurvat, very close, isn't it? So, bijankurvat anaditva. So this is like bija and ankura. Which one may came first? The sprout or the seed? The sprout is the product of the earlier seed. That is the product of earlier sprout. That is the product of earlier seed. We don't say that this seed is the product of this sprout. Then of course anyonya ashraya. Like bija, if you say that, where did you get the seed? From the sprout. Where do you get the sprout? From the seed. So neither the seed can be there because the sprout is not there. Sprout cannot be there yet because the seed is not there. That is called anyonya ashraya. But he says, no, that's not what we mean. This sprout is a product of the earlier seed, and the earlier seed was a product of earlier sprout, and that's how each one consequently gives rise to the other. So this is called anadi parampara. This anaditvat nayam dosha iti. So the anyonyashaya dosha that you stated is not there. Ityataha andha. So Bhashyakara calls it what? Says here, andha parampara esha anaditva kalpana. Esha anaditva kalpana. This kalpana that you are doing, that the whole is anadi, this business is what? Andha parampara. Who has seen this? Has anybody seen it? Now coming down to the brass tacks, that has anybody seen the connection? That Atma in the previous birth did this, and therefore is connected with this body, etc. Says, Andha parampara is apramanika. Where is the pramana? Where is the proof of this? Nahi bijad ankurah tatah bijantaram cha yatha pratyakshana drishyate tatat atmanah deha sambandhah purva karma krutah pratyaksha napi asti kaschit agamah. Says, nahi bijad ankurah. It is your own practical experience that from the seed you find a sprout. Tatah bijantaram, and from that sprout you find another seed. So bijad ankurah tatah bijantaram. From one seed comes a sprout, and from that sprout comes another seed. Chayatha pratyakshana drishya. This is something that you have seen in your actual experience. This is a perceptual experience. And therefore, you can accept that this is anadi parampara. To accept Bijankura as anadi parampara is alright, because this is what you see happening. Tadvat atmanah deha sambandha purva karma krutah pratyaksha. Just to apply illustration and then call this parampara also as anadi, is not right. Have you seen sambandha? You have seen actually a sprout arising from the seed. This is your experience. And you have seen actually a seed arising from the sprout. So you have seen this. Have you seen Atma being connected to the body? You are not. You infer that it is connected to the body because it is functioning through the body, and because this body is a product of the karma which he must have done. And that again you infer because he was connected to the other body. This is all inference. If even once you have seen that Atma is connected to the body and Atma is performing karma, then you can say that this is anadi parampara. But you have not seen it. But then each one enables you to infer something else, and this is how is all inference parampara, not pratyaksha parampara. Inference must be based on pratyaksha. And there is no linga. There is no evidence for you to say that Atma is performing karma. What is the evidence? Body is performing karma. What is the evidence? Speech is performing karma. The mind is performing karma. Do you have an evidence that Atma is performing karma? This is an inference again. You imagine, says karma must have an ashraya. Who else will perform karma? He will ask you. Who else will perform karma? Karma cannot be performed by the body, that is jada, and therefore karma must have an ashraya. It must have a locus, and locus should necessarily be a conscious being. Atma alone is a conscious being, and therefore Atma performs the karma. But this is again inference. Atma is sukhi dukhi. Why? Sukha dukkha are all the states, and all these states must have also a locus. And therefore, locus must be a conscious being. Therefore, Atma is sukhi dukhi. So all of this sukhitvam, dukkhitvam, kartrutvam, bhoktrutvam of the Atma has not been arrived at by actually a knowledge, but has been arrived at by inference. That whatever kriya is there, that kriya must have a karta. And therefore, Atma is a karta. Whatever kriya is there, a kriya must have ashraya, which is a karta. And therefore, Atma is the ashraya. But nobody has seen it. This is what? An inference. Because you find chidik kriya. You find that whenever this woodcutter splits wood, the splitting is an action. Which action is dependent upon the woodcutter. So woodcutter is the locus of that action. Therefore, it's called agent of action. So we find in our experience that whenever an action is performed, necessarily there is a locus. And we also find that that locus is a conscious being. That woodcutter is a conscious being, and therefore, when kriyas are performed through body, etc., they must have a locus, and that locus must be a conscious being, and that conscious being Atma, therefore Atma is karta bhokta. But this is not pratyaksha. This is what? Inference. Therefore andha. Why andha? If we once you have seen. See, you can infer the presence of fire from the perception of smoke if you have yourself seen that wherever smoke is, fire must be. You've seen it in many places. And therefore, you can infer that there is fire because you perceive the smoke. Where once have you seen the connection of Atma with Karma? Nowhere. Therefore, for you to say that Atma is Karta is not based on any kind of a pramanam. When it is not based on pramana, it's called apramanike. Apramanike means not based on pramana. Pramana are the eyes. Pramana is in general called the eyes with which you see. So Anda Parampara is not some kind of an abuse, Anda only means apramanike parampara. That you not seen something, all of this shunyavad, all these vadas are apramanike because there is no proof with them. And here, therefore, apramanike parampara says here, okay, so pratyaksha need not be pramanam. Shastra also can be pramanam. It says, napi asti kaschit agamaha. Is there agama or a shastra which says that Atma has performed this karma and not performed, etc.? No shastra says that Atma's sambandha with the body is real. Napi asti kaschit agamaha. Pratyuta asangohi ityadi shruti sarvakartrutvam varayate iti bhava. On the other hand, pratyuta asangohi ityadi shruti, that this shruti asangohi ayam purusha sarvakartrutvam varayate. In fact, this shruti asangohi ayam purusha atma is asanga, in fact, refutes the very idea of any kind of kartrutva in Atma. Iti bhava. All of this is not commented by Purnanandya because Atmanah Shreya Ityadi Pratyaksha Ityatah Praktano Grandha Spashtatah. Pratyaksha means Pratyaksha Vishaya. So this Nabhyastikasi Ityadi Yena Tasya Gauna etc. all these Atirohitartha means Spashtartah. So there is no need to explain all this because it is very clear. Alright, now going back to Ratnaprabha says Tatra Yuktimaha. Bhashyakara explains, gives this by Yukti here. Shows how the Kartrutva etc. of Atma cannot be proven. Says Bhashya, last line of page 188. Kriya Samavaya Abhavacha Atmanah Kartrutva Anupattehe. Kriya Samavaya Abhavacha Atmanah Kartrutva Anupattehe. Kriya Samavaya Abhavat. Samavaya again is the inherent relationship. That's called Samavaya Sambandha. The cause and effect of inherent relationship. Like the cotton and the cloth has a relationship which is called Samavaya. There's another relationship that's called Sanyoga. Like a rope may have with a pot. So when you tie a pot with a rope, that is a Sanyoga. But the kind of relationship that is there between the clay and the pot is called Samavaya. So, At Kriya Samavaya Abhavacha, or therefore we do not find that, Atma does not have any Samavaya, any Sambandha or relationship with Atma. Atmanah Kartrutva Anupattehe. If Atma were connected to the Kriya, if Kriya were the nature of Atma, then you can call him Karta. But then, Kriya Samavaya Abhavat. On account of absence of Samavaya, or sambandha or relationship of Atma with any Kriya, Atmanah Kartrutva Anupattehe. Atma, the Kartrutva of the Atma is not tenable. Says Ratnabha, Kutastasya Kruti Ayogat na Kartrutvam Ityartha. Kutastasya, Atma is Kutastha, meaning is immutable, changeless. Kruti Ayogat, changeless Atma cannot perform karma. How can Atma have any connection with karma? This was also discussed earlier. That Kriya is that which necessarily brings about a change or modification in its locus. This was said earlier. While discussing whether Atma can have Kartrutvam, said wherever Kriya is there, the Kriya must necessarily bring a change in its locus. And so, suppose a body does something. Then when the body does some Kriya, necessarily there must be change in the body. Without bringing about a change in the locus which is body, Kriya is not possible. Body cannot remain stiff as it is and still hope to do something. When body performs an action, necessarily there is a change in the body. Similarly also, wherever action is performed, in that locus of action, there must necessarily be a change. Atma is kutastha, changeless, and therefore it cannot become the locus of an action. Therefore, Atma cannot have any samavaya, any relationship with the action. So, kutasthasya kruti ayogat. That's why Bhashyakara said, Atmanah kriya samavaya abhavat. Na kartutvam ityartha. Therefore, Atma cannot be karta because the very first qualification that is required for Atma to be karta is absent in Atma, because Atma is kutastha, is changeless. And the karta must necessarily undergo change. Atma cannot undergo change, therefore Atma cannot have kartrutvam. This is okay. Atma may not have kartrutvam. But then, says Ratnabhava, swataha nishkriyasyapi. There can be karayitrutvam. Naiva kinchit karodi, so naiva kurvan na karayan. Atma may not do anything, but may make fellows do. That kind of kartrutva is there. So kartrutvam may not be there. Karayitrutvam is there. Lord Krishna did not fight, but he kept on prompting Arjuna, you fight. And so karayitrutvam is there. Then that's why Lord Krishna said, naiva kurvan na karayan. He doesn't do anything Atma, nor does he make anyone do. But that's the next argument. Swataha nishkriyasyapi karaka sannidhana. Even the Atma is swataha nishkriya. Himself is actionless. Karaka sannidhanat. On account of sannidhi, on account of proximity with karaka. So swayam nishkriya himself is actionless. But on account of his proximity, the karga, other accessories which are around, kartrutvam, that is how he prompts or inspires kartrutvam in others. Himself does not do anything, but then on account of his presence itself or account of his proximity, others around him are inspired to do things. So Atma himself is nishkriya. But then the deha, manaha, pranaha, all of these which are in proximity of the Atma, they are prompted. They are enlivened and they are prompted or they are directed to perform action. So why not that way? In the presence of Atma, all of these start performing karma. And the Atma makes them do. Why not that way? Iti shankam drashtanda vaishamyena nirasyati naiti. So that shanka is raised and then it is answered. Says Bhashyakara, sannidhanamatreణ rajaprabhrutinam drashtam kartrutvam iti che. Sannidhanamatreణ rajaprabhrutinam, like a king, etc. So people such as kings or the masters, sannidhanamatrena, by the very presence, by the very proximity, drashtam kartrutvam, we find that things happen in the presence. The king is present and everything happens in his presence. So this all Purvapaksha comes from a contention, there is a verse there. Chalalena hyasim yodha prayamukte chedanam prati. How does a yodha? Yodha means a soldier. So a soldier, if he has to kill somebody, how does a soldier kill? With an asi or with a sword. Actually he rushes or he attacks somebody with a sword, and that is how a soldier performs action. Actual action is performed. Senapatistu vachaeva bhrutyanam viniyojakaha. Senapati, your commander doesn't do that. Commander says shoot, So these fellows actually shoot. But commander says shoot. So all that the commander requires is to utter a word, shoot. So the soldier actually does the action of shooting. The commander accomplishes that merely by the word shoot. Raja sannidhi matrena. And Raja, if he is present, king, he doesn't even say that. Sannidhi matrena. In presence of the king who does not do anything, the commander gets the instruction. And commander gives instruction. And then all the soldiers and all the servants, all of them become active. Tasmad achalatopi syat chalane kartrutatmanah. So here Kumara Bhatta says, achalatopi atmanah, even though Atma is achala, Atma is motionless or is actually without any actual motion in terms of kartrutva, in terms of karma. Syat chalane kartruta. And still we say that Atma somehow prompts the mind. who is a minister. Then the mind prompts the sense organs, who are like the yodhas, and that is how the action is performed. So how can sense organs, who are comparable to soldiers, they perform the actions? How do they perform actions? Because the mind instructs them. And how does the mind get instruction? In the presence of Atma. So Atma, by his presence, becomes the agent of instruction of the mind, and thereby becomes agent for performance of actions at the level of sense organs. And that's how the Mimamsakas look upon Atma as Karta. Again by a Drishtanta. For all of this, Drishtanta alone is there, of course. Drishtanta, this Shankya, Drishtanta Vaishamyen Nirasyati. Bhashyakara shows this Drishtanta is not an apt Drishtanta. Again, you give Drishtanta all right, but then it is not an apt Drishtanta. Shows Drishtanta Vaishamyam, shows the inaptness of the Drishtanta, and that's how this contention or this argument is refuted. Says Bhashyakara. Na dhanadānādi uparjita bhrutya sambandhitvad tesham kartruttvopattehe. We imagine it is bhrutya instead of vrutya. Vrutya means activity. Bhrutya sambandha, so vrutya, so bhrutya alone is right, okay? So dhanadānādi uparjita bhrutya sambandhitvat tesham. So upajita bhrutya sambandha. This bhrutya sambandha, Raja has a connection with bhrutya. Bhrutya means servant. Raja is connected with servant. How is he connected? Uparjita. That sambandha or the relation connection of the bhrutya connection of the servant has been actually bought by or has been attained by the king by dhanadānādi, by actually giving them money. So by paying them salary, etc., Raja gets connected with bhrutya. That's the reason why even though Raja does not have to do anything, the bhrutya does, because there is a connection. What is the connection? Dhanadānādi. Therefore, first you have to establish, so here in case of Raja and the servant, there is a connection between them. Which connection, even though not physical connection, the connection is established as a result of dhanadānam, as a result of giving them money, etc., salary. Tesham kartrutva upapattehe. And because of that alone the servants work, otherwise which servant will work anywhere? If dhanadānam is not there, in spite of dhanadānam they don't do. So in the house very often servants are as relaxed as the owners, and more relaxed in fact, We have a Mali, we have a gardener. I have seen him a very relaxed person. He comes to the garden, he surveys everything for a few minutes and then goes away. That's it. And this is his job. So there is no need that a servant should necessarily do something even in these days, even when he is paid money, And so he comes, or at least he keeps promising that he will come. That itself is enough for the lady of the house, because she is scared the fellow will go away. What will happen to her, But anyway, let us say that Raja has the ability to punish. Since we don't have the ability to punish, therefore, whoever has the ability to punish is the boss always. Servant can punish the landlord or the master, therefore he is the boss. He can punish by not coming, etc., And therefore whoever can punish is the boss in this world. So rickshawalas can punish the municipality, by striking, and so they are the bosses. So labor can punish the owners, they become the masters. In the olden days, this is illustration in the olden days, that, so somebody said now LD engineering, there is strike, only day before yesterday the classes have started, I think already there is a strike, that's how. So whoever can control, of course they can, all correct actions will take place. So actually rickshawalas can bring about action through municipal commissioner, because of some kind of a threat. Anyway, there is a threat that a servant feels from the king, or a sense of obligation that a servant feels towards the king, one of them. Servant has something in him, either a threat or a sense of gratitude. One of the two senses is there and prompted. It is a threat or the sense of gratitude that prompts the servant, not even the king, really speaking. But the king, by his presence, invokes in him a sense of gratitude. Or king, by his presence, invokes in him a sense of threat. And that's how the fellow does. So what really prompts the servant to act is one of these kind of a sense of gratitude or a threat. And that is how king by his presence is able to invoke in the servant this kind of a threat, etc. And that is how king becomes indirectly the karta, indirectly becomes the agent. That's the reason why when the army loses a battle, it's the king who loses. When the army wins a battle, the king who wins. Like when the lawyer wins, then the client wins. When the lawyer loses, client loses, in that sense. Says Ratnavra, Rajadinam swakrita bhrutya karye kartrutvam yuktam. Raja is swakrita bhrutya. Bhrutya means the servant. Krita means purchased or bought. Swakrita, so uparjita means krita. Raja has actually bought these servants by paying them salary, etc. And therefore, kartrutvam yuktam. Therefore, that Raja can be called the karta or the agent of action is proper. Na atmanaha. But then, Atma does not have that kind of relation with this body, etc. That's what Bhashyakara says. Natu atmanaha dhanadana shariradibihi swaswami sambandha nimittam kinchit shakyam kalpayitum na kinchit swaswami sambandha nimittam kalpayitum shakyam. Swa and Swami. Swa means wealth. Swa has several meanings. Swa means one's own. Swa means oneself. And Swa also means possession. So wealth. So Swa and Swami. Swami is the master or the owner. And Swa is that which is owned by him. So Swa Swami Sambandha is there. Raja has Sambandha with the servant as Swa Swami. They are mine or they are bought by me because with the money and I am their owner or I am their master. So this kind of a sambandha is dhanadana. So Raja has acquired that kind of sambandha with the bhrutya by dhanadanam, by paying them money, etc. Shariradibihi swaswami sambandha nimittam. But then Atma cannot be imagined to have this kind of a relation with the body, that Atma has paid money to the body or done something to the body, because of which then body feels obliged to Atma and acts in the presence of Atma. Such nimittam, this kind of nimitta, kinchit shakyam na kalpayitum. You cannot imagine that this kind of, in case of Raja you can see the nimitta. Raja becomes a karta because there is a nimitta. What's the nimitta? That he has bought the servants. And therefore he enjoys the relationship with the servant as Swa and Swami. Here, there is no such nimitta by which you can imagine that Atma enjoys the relationship of Swa and Swami with the body, etc. Therefore, this Drishtanta Vaishamyam, your Drishtanta is not applicable here because there the Sambandha is there. Drishtanta is okay. But then there is the Upadi. Upadi is what? Swaswami Sambandha Nimittatve Sati. Raja Bhrutyadinam. So nimittam syat. So karya nimittam syat. So Raja can become nimitta on account of the bhrutya, by his presence, only when this Swaswami Sambandha is there. So it is not only the presence that brings about the activity on the bhrutya. The presence accompanied by Swaswami Sambandha, that is what brings about the activity. So presence is there of Atma in the vicinity of all this. But the sambandha not being there, your drishtanta is not the proper drishtanta. That's the idea. Says Puranandi Ratna Prabha, Deha Karmanaho Avidya Bhumau Bijankurat Kuravat Avartamanayoho Atmana Sambandha Bhranti Krutah Evaiti. Deha Karmanaho Avidya bhumo bijang kurvat avartamanayoho. We will accept that deha and the karma are connected. That deha is a product of karma. That karma is, because we see the karma being performed by the body. So we know that karma is connected to the body. And the body is product of previous karma. That previous karma was because of the previous body. And thus deha and the karma, both of them are connected to each other. Avidya bhumo. In this state of avidya, we see this Bijang kurvat avartamanayoho, that like a sprout and the seed, the body and the karma are connected in a series like this, that in the realm of ignorance. Atmana sambandha bhranti kritaha. But then the sambandha of the body and the karma with Atma is only due to Bhranti. The body is connected with karma and karma is connected with body, all right. But that they are connected with Atma, this kind of sambandha is Bhranti kritaha, is only out of Bhranti. That's what is said by Bhashyakara, mithya iti. Mithya vimanastu pratyakshaha sambandha hetuhu. But it is true that the body, etc., do perform actions in the vicinity of Atma. We also say, Tameva bhantam anubhadi sarvam. Only when the Atma shines that all of these things shine. Only when the Atma is that all of these perform action, that we say, we also accept. So, Rajavat, that illustration also is given. It is in presence of Atma that the body, mind, etc. perform the action. So, that must be some kind of a sambandha. But it is not real sambandha. In case of Raja and the Bhrutya, the sambandha is real. In case of Atma and Anatma, the sambandha is Bhranti Janya. That's the only difference. Mithyabhimanastu pratyakshaha sambandha hetuhu. However, the sambandha hetu, the cause for sambandha between Atma and Anatma or Atma and the Upadis, mithyabhimana. Is mithyabhimana, meaning this false notion alone, born of ignorance. So therefore, sambandha bhranti krita eva. Then Ratnavara says, Nanu yajeta iti vidhi anupatya atmanah kartrutvam eva ishtavyam kartu eva kartrutvam ishtavyam iti tatraha. This is well, but the Veda says yajeta, brahmano yajeta, etc. So Vedas keep on enjoining actions. When the Vedas enjoin the actions, who do they enjoin actions for? Are the Vedas asking the body to perform action? No. When the Vedas says Swarga Kama Yajeta, Brahmano Yajeta, Kshatriyo Yajeta, whatever it is, that Brahmana should perform this yaga, etc., necessarily Vedas would not say that the yaga should perform if the Atma could not perform the yaga. So now we go the other way around. The fact that in the Vedas there is an injunction that the karma should be performed, therefore the Atma must be the karta, otherwise why should the Vedas ask the person to perform the karma? Therefore it is said, yajeta iti vidhi anupatya, this is called arthapatti, shrutya arthapatti, arthapatti anupatti. Vedas or the Shruti would not have said that Brahmana should perform action had Atma not had kartrutvam. Since Atma has kartrutvam, bhoktrutvam, therefore alone, this Shruti says that Brahmana, this person should do something. So since Shruti says that a person should do something, therefore we say that the Atma must have kartrutvam, otherwise Shruti would not have said it. Anupatya. So Vashyaka says, etena iti. Etena yajamanatvam atmanah vyakhyatam. Etena atmanah yajmanatvam. Atma is yajman, like a Brahmana, Kshatriya, etc., who performs the action, vyakhyatam. This has already been explained. How Atma becomes a yajmana. How Atma becomes a karta, like a Kshatriya, Brahmana. This is explained. How? Mithya sambandha nimittam. Says Ratnaprabha, Bhranti kritena dehadi sambandhena yagadi kartrutvam atma brahma bodhat vyakhyatam ityartha. Bhranti kritena deha sambandhena dehadi sambandhena. So there is some kind of a sambandha Atma has, because of which he can be branded as karta. Bhranti kritena dehadi sambandhena. Atma is connected to the body, mind, etc. only on account of adhyasa, only on account of Bhranti. And therefore, yagadi kartrutvam. Therefore, momentarily or temporarily, there is kartrutvam, as though yagadi kartrutvam, as though Atma is a karta of the yaga. How long? Brahma bodhat, until Brahma bodha takes place. So until Brahma bodha or the knowledge of Brahman takes place, until that Bhranti nirasa takes place, Atma as though enjoys a relation with the body, etc. And therefore, Atma becomes the agent of action. Vyakhyatam, so yajmanatvam. Yajmanatvam is that Atma performs the karma. Vyakhyatam has been explained by us by saying that a relation is due to the Bhranti, and the Bhranti remains until the Brahmajnanam takes place, and until then, what Shruti says is applicable only to an ignorant person, until the knowledge has until the Brahma has gone. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sūtra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Atha Om Atha Om Atha Tu Samanvayat. 88. Taduktam Shrutya Ashariram Vavasantam Na Priya Priye Sprashataha Iti Sharire Patite Ashariratvam Syat Na Jivataha Iti Chet Na Sasharirattvasya Mithya Jnana Nimittatvat Nahyatmanaha Shariratma Bhimana Lakshanam Mithya Jnanam Muktva Anyataha Sashariratvam Shakyam Kalpayidum Nityam Ashariratvam Akarma Nimittatvat Ityavochama Tatkrita Dharma Dharma Nimittam Sasharirattvamiti Chet Na Sharira Sambandhasya Asiddhatvat Dharma Dharmayoho Atmakritatva Siddhehe Sharira Sambandhasya Dharma Dharmayoho Tatkritattvasya Cha Itaretarashrayatva Prasanga Anna Parampara Esha Anaditva Kalpana Kriya Samavaya Bhavacha Atmanah Kartritvanupattehe Sandhimatrena Rajaprabhutinam Drishtam Kartruttvamiti Chet Na Dhanadanadi Uparjita Bhritya Sambandhitvat Tesham Kartruttvopapattehe Natu Atmanaha Dhanadanadivata Shariradivihi Swaswami Sambandha Nimittam Kinchit Shakyam Kalpayitum Mithyabhimanastu Pratyaksha Sambandha Hetuhu Etena Yajamanatvam Atmano Vyakyatam. So all this is commentary upon this statement of the Shruti, Ashariram Vavasantam Na Priya Priya Sprushataha. Priya and Apriya, these pairs of opposites, Na Sprushataha, they do not touch, they do not affect. Ashariram Vavasantam, to the one who is Asharira. So this is a statement from the Shruti, Chandogya Upanishad. What is meant by this? What is meant by Ashariram? This is where the contention is. So, said Purvapakshi, Sharire patide ashariratvam syat na jivatah. So that this statement refers to the one who is not alive, but one for whom the body has dropped off. Ashariratvam, being disembodied, is possible only after the fall of the body, not possible while one is still alive. This would be the first understanding. Says na. To analyze what is meant by sashariratvam or ashariratvam. When Shruti says sasharira and asharira, what exactly is meant there? So this is where the commentary, this is where the tatparya nischaya understanding is necessary. Sasharirattvasya mithya jnana nimittatvat. Understand that sashariratvam, being embodied itself, is mithya jnana nimittam. That itself, this whole is a notion. That I am a shariri or I am an embodied one is mithya jnana nimittam, is something that is caused by mithya jnanam or false knowledge or adhyasa. Nahi atmana शरीरात्माभिमान लक्षण मिथ्या ज्ञान मुक्त्वा अन्यतः शरीरत्वं शक्यं कल्पयितुम्. It's not possible that Atma can be sashariri or embodied or connected to the body by means other than mithya jnanam. Other than that, one can never arrive at, one can never imagine or can never arrive at or can never explain this sashariratvam or embodiedness of the Atma. Then he says, well, why not we imagine that Atma is performing karma, dharma and dharma. As a result of that, he has his body and then again performs dharma, dharma. So why not we say that the association that Atma has with the body is on account of dharma and dharma? Then the answer is given that you cannot establish, number one, the problem is that you cannot establish that Atma is sasharir or embodied. If you cannot establish that, how can you establish that Atma is doing dharma and adharma? So that Atma has done dharma and adharma is contingent upon the acceptance that Atma has association with the body, and that Atma is associated with the body is again dependent upon that Atma has done dharma dharma. Each one depends upon the other, and therefore that you cannot establish that Atma is sashariri. So sannidhi matrena, why not we say, of course he said that we don't say that Atma is dharma dharma or this body is product of the dharma dharma done in this birth. So this body is a product of dharma dharma in the previous birth, and that